Hello friends, how are you? This is Mig Jiménez. Today is a different day because I want to make a different in live show. Usually I always speak in front of the camera, talking about many subjects, mainly in Spanish of course. But today I wanted to do something with my hands. I am trying to show you through my cell phone. So maybe the quality is not the best of the best, but maybe we can enjoy this evening talking about many different techniques. While the people is connecting, I am trying to connect my laptop so I can check the questions from you and many other things. 1 second. Right now. Okay, so today I will try to talk only in English, but if you have any question in Spanish, it's not a problem. I can handle it. But I would like to talk in English today. So I apologize for the rest of the people. Hoy hablaré solo en inglés, amigos. Como casi siempre hablo en castellano, hoy será solo en inglés. So today, what I will do today? I just wanted to explain you as much techniques as possible, trying to do many things at the same time. Working with the eyebrows, I want to make a little modulation. I want to use the shaders. I want to make something related with the oil and grease. For example, I want to explain you something like here in the engine deck in this BTR. Can you see those effects? I want to explain you that, how to do that, how I do that. So if you want to know how to do it, please stay until the end of this video. But of course, any question during this video will be welcome. I need to be focused painting over the model, so I apologize if I cannot reply to all of you. Because I cannot check in the screen at the same time that I am painting. Sí, os he jodido con el inglés, lo siento, pero es que siempre lo hago en castellano y hoy tenía que cambiar un poquito al inglés, ya me podéis perdonar. Pero en cualquier caso, a todos los que habláis solo español, no hay ningún problema porque voy a estar trabajando sobre la maqueta y vais a poder ver lo que estoy haciendo. Así que os invito a que os quedéis y si tenéis alguna pregunta en castellano, pues también lo intento responder, así que no os preocupéis. Okay, guys, so right now that there are a few people already watching the video, let us start. Because I repeat you, I want to do many things today. So I don't want to lose my time like other times talking about different subjects, but I want to be just focused and centered in the techniques. One more time, I apologize for my English. You know that I am a Spaniard. I am from Spain. I doesn't speak English. It's not my natural language. So I will try to do my best with the English language. If you cannot understand something from me, please ask again, post a message in the thread, and my friends like Jimmy or Ian Hamilton or Vladimir will help you and will write any question or any answer about the related subject that I will do today. So, okay, what I want to do to start today. Some people was asking me about the modulation, how to paint with the eyebrows, and because this is something fast and easier, I will start by doing that, and I will explain you the difference between the shaders and the modulation and how those techniques affect our model, but only in one example. So today for the modulation, I want to use some basic colors. I have those ones. Let me show you. Those are for the Dunkelgelb, for the German dark yellow. And as you can see, we have a range of different colors for the like the shadow, dark base, the base color, and also to give the highlights. For example, this one, Dunkelgelb light base, highlight and shine. okay? So 6 colors. Of course, you can use even less. You can use even 4 colors if you don't want to spend too much time with all of them. And this will be the exactly sequence of application of the colors, okay? We will start with the darker one that is almost not black, but it's a very dark brown. The second, third, and etc. Okay? I already dropped the paint in my eyebrows. I will use the eyebrows today a lot. So any question related with that will be also welcome. Yes, you're welcome. The modeling news, my friend, from Australia. Yes, today it was necessary to make it in English. Okay, so let's go to start. I already put the first color in my eyebrows. This is the darker one. So I repeat you. Today I will make modulation, but also I will explain you the shaders. I will explain you how to make the grease and oil, how to make many other effects. Even if I have enough time, I will explain you how to use also all brushes and many other aspects. Also, I will explain a little about how to use correctly the varnishes. I will show you the example on my models. And you will see how I use the eyebrows, how I clean it, and everything. So I think that this will be a very important in live video for all of you if you want to learn many things. Probably some of you already know how to do the things, no? But for all of those who have many doubts and problems, this will be a good video. So let's start with the modulation. Like you know, or you maybe probably know, this technique is just to give a kind of volume or three-dimensional look to your model. The first thing that the people say about that is if this is real or not. Of course, it's not real like any other thing that we do. We try to simulate the reality. We try to represent something. Sometimes it's more dramatic, sometimes less. But anyway, this is just for fun. It's just to give a nice sensation to our models, and that's all. Of course, thanks to the different techniques that we can apply later, we can be more subtle or not, or we can make softer the modulation effects to avoid that the people see the trick in our model. No? So it's like the magicians, when they are making magic, you cannot see the trick, or the magicians will lose the, the effect. No? So just to show you the difference between modulation and a normal base coat, here in that side that I covered with tape, I painted just a base color, a standard base color, a flat color, like many of us we do very often. But in the other side, I will explain you how to start working with the modulation. First, I apply a primer coat with the Titan spray cans, because it's faster for me. It's just a primer. If you don't use the Titan sprays, you can use the one-shot primers, which is very, very good ones. So it's up to you. But here I have the base color with this. Before I start painting in my model, we can test in a paper if the airbrush is working. So I can test it and see if everything is working fine or not. Okay? So I don't need too much accuracy to make lines or something like that, because I need to cover big surfaces. So let's go to start. Where to apply the first coat? This will represent the shadows. So I will start applying the shadows in the inferior areas, like in this zone. It's very important to know that when you are painting with the acrylics, it's necessary to apply first very soft coats. Don't try to cover at once, because you can do that with the lacquer paints or enamels. For example, lacquer paint like Mr. Hobby or Tamiya, you can do that. But the difference is that those paints are toxic. And for example, I don't want to use inside my home, because as you know, I have a parrot and I don't want to intoxicate to my parrot. No, but the good thing of the acrylic paints is that one of them is that they are not toxic, but the disadvantage, the problem is that you must change your way of painting, and you must be softer and more patient applying the coats. Now you can see how I am gradually making a transition. I am making the shadows. Remember that I am making right now a modulation painting, a modulation style that you prefer. Okay. I am not painting, I am not covering all sides of my model, just the necessary areas. Okay, so I have here one side, as you can see. How is the quality of the view? You can see the color, you can see clear enough, because I am projecting this with my cell phone. I'm not sure if this is working nicely or not. Well, in the back, in the engine deck here, we will apply the shadow in a different way. For example, if here we have darker tones, here I will try to apply the lighter ones. Okay, so I will make the shadows in another areas. For example, here. The point is that we must try to connect the lighter areas with the darker ones in every places to create a nice effect. Because if you put the lighter ones, all of them in the same place, will be like a kind of a spotlight. Okay? Okay, good. Some people is telling me that the quality is good. Remember that I cannot read the message right now because I am painting. So if you have any question, maybe my friends can give you the answer. Vladimir or Jimmy or Ian Hamilton, maybe they can help you. I am painting the hidden areas. I will try to go faster, so the quality will be not the best one, just to avoid to spend too much time. Here, in the roof area, what we can do is to use tape to protect some parts. For example, here. Okay, and this will help us to go faster with the roof. Remember that I am making only half of the tank because the other half will be just painted with a flat color, a single color, avoiding the modulation. And we will see the contrast and how this will affect to the next steps of weathering. Okay? Because this is the first step, is the first color, I don't need to be too much worried about if I am covering some unnecessary areas, no? But I prefer to keep it clean to show you how must be worked the model. Now I will change the color after I finish this, and you will see how I clean the color and how I dilute the color and everything. For this, sorry. Okay. Which pressure I am using, Marcus? Hello, my friend. I am using 1.5 kilograms in my air compressor. Good enough for most of the things. And now I will explain how to dilute the color. Well, here I don't need to spend too much time. And now let's go to the frontal part. Can you see the contrast right now? Here, clean areas, here, darker ones, always combining. Here I will make just the opposite. So what I will use one more time the tape. and I will paint it. Okay, just give me time. It's difficult to keep talking and painting at the same time, so please be patient. I will explain you also later some tips when I am painting, what I usually do to keep it clean the needle, and other advices, okay? But now I just want to start painting and painting. Okay, so here I am applying the darker color just in that area. Remember that I need to make 6 steps, sorry, and to create a completed volume in my model. While it is drying, I will repeat also the same process right here, but covering the fender. The frontal matte guard, this one, I will cover with tape. You can see that you can do that very fast. It's not necessary to be too much accurate. I am using the air cobra for this step, okay? El liquid matte, digamos, se puede diluir. El liquid matte, no se puede diluir. Se aplica directamente con un palillo o un algodoncillo o algo similar, el liquid mask. Bueno, let's go to apply here the shadows in the frontal area. We can use also the inclination of the model to use it like a kind of mask to paint just in the right place. Fortunately, with my cell phone, I discovered that I can make zoom, so later when I will paint more details, I will show you closer everything that I am doing. Okay, 1 second. Well, this is in a very fast way the first step. Probably I can apply here also some shadows. So for this time I will use a paper mask that could be faster. Something like that. And then I paint it. It's important to have a clear idea of what we are doing since the beginning. We need to know where to apply the shadows and the highlights in any time, or we can be lost and we can make a mess in our model. So just be careful since the beginning and decide where to put your colors. Okay. Well, this is the first step. Very easy, right? Now you can see the contrast between each plate, each panel of your model. And now we will change the color and we will move to the next one. Remember, the first one was the 900, the shadow, Dunkelgelb shadow. And now let's go for the 901, the Dunkelgelb dark base. This is the next color. So we will change very quick the color in my airbrush. So how I do it? The first thing that I do is to pour the rest of the color, the remains of the color, in a plastic glass, for example. Now I can clean a bit the cap of the airbrush to avoid any accident. And what I can do with the content, with the rest of the colors. Sometimes I don't remove it, even I don't clean it. Why? Because it can be mixed with the next color and can make a softer transition. So it's not necessary to clean it when we are working with modulation. We can use the rest of the colors of the previous color to be mixed with the next one. very important, shake it very well. And we can put directly in the cap of our airbrush. I put it too much thinner. I am not controlling the quantity that I am adding into the cup, but because I make almost by instinct. But the dilution of the painting depends on what you are doing. For this case, I recommend you to apply maybe a 40% of thinner or 35% of thinner and the rest of the color. It could be a good mixture, a good ratio. Well, now the second color is in my cup and I can start painting directly the next steps. So where to apply the next this new color? Obviously, we must continue with the transition. Always I try outside in the paper. You can see that the color is very fluid. And now I try to overlap this new color over the previous one. I am overlapping. Okay, very important. So I am making a kind of transparency and unifying the previous color with the new one. You will see the effect much better with the next color. Now it's maybe it's a bit difficult in the screen, but you can see how I am mixing both colors, overlapping the new one over the previous one. Okay. Can you see that the organization of the color in my side of my tank is like inclinated? It's not just straight. It's not parallel. So this will make more attractive for model if we are more random. I continue covering the surface, not all, but especially the darker areas. And as you can see, it's a bit transparent, so it will help us. Okay. More. Let's go to while it is drying. Remember to apply softer coats. Don't try to cover at once in your model, because we are working with acrylics, and the acrylics works in a different way than lacquers, paints, or enamels. So be patient and don't try to cover at once. Just cover one and let dry and cover again. I am all time working with the trigger on my airbrush, back and forward and back, and pressing the air continually, all time. One more time, I am integrating the darker areas with this new color here in the back plate. I am covering also everything. Now it's not necessary to put mask again, because in the first step I wanted to show you how you can work, but now it's not necessary. So you can see here, and this is why I don't want to cover everything. So here you can see the lights, and here you can see the shadows. It's not only from down to up, or up to down, but also from the back to the front. Let's go to the frontal plate, and we will repeat the same. So the first coat was the most important one, the shadow areas, because those shadow areas are the ones that will settle the future look or appearance of our model. Remember that this technique is an artistic technique. It's not realistic, of course, because some people think that this is not valid for contests or something like that, and of course not. Of course it's valid. Everything that we make in modeling is valid, and it's okay if it is realistic and credible, no? But if we exaggerate too much and it's almost ridiculous, then it could be a problem in any model contest. But I have seen models painted with modulation in many model shows that which are difficult to see that those are painted with modulation. So remember that the best technique is the technique that the people cannot distinguish, that the people cannot see it. The people cannot see the trick that we are using to paint our model, or this means that we are failing. Well, I almost finished with this color. Remember that I am integrating both colors. Okay? Well, and let's go. One more coat. It's necessary to be patient when you are working with this modulation technique, because you need to work with 6 different colors, while if you are painting your model with only one color, it's faster and easier, no? And even it is even more complicated if you are mixing not only modulation but also camouflage, and the camouflage also with modulation, and also if you want to integrate also chipping with the chipping fluid plus the modulation, and camouflage with modulation could be a nightmare. I remember a Panther F that I made long time ago in American Service, a What If, and I painted with a 3-tone camouflage with modulation and chipping, and I needed 1 month to do all of that work. 1 month. The weathering and the rest of the things, I needed just 1 week. But for the modulation, I needed a lot of time. So don't think that it's a fast technique. If you want a fast technique, I will show you later how to do it with the shaders. That is a nice alternative. But the modulation is a technique that needs a lot of time. Yes, Niklas Jansson, this is just an artist perspective. Of course, sometimes you see exaggerated models painted with modulation, and not everybody like it. So this is why I invite you to use the modulation, and not only the modulation, but each technique that you use, try to use moderately and not too much. Always trying to keep a good balance. Okay, let's go to change the color. One more time. Here is the remains of the previous color, and like I told you before, what I do is just to pour over on the plastic glass. If I want to clean a little what is inside, I recommend you to do this thing. Just put a little cleaner, just a little. Okay. Also, the cleaner can be used like a thinner, but this time I am using just acrylic thinner, the classic one. With the brush, you can clean the sticks or the remains of the paints. And one more time, you can empty the content of the airbrush in a plastic glass. So simple. You don't need to do any other thing. I am doing this in live, so I am not cheating, I am not doing anything strange, or because sometimes when you see a magazine or any other thing, maybe you think that I am doing something that I don't show in the articles, no? But as you can see, I am doing in live with the same eyebrows, nothing special. Okay, let's go for the next color, Dunkelgelb base. So theoretically, this is the base color of the Dunkelgelb, the typical German dark yellow. This is the 902. And this will be the third step in our modulation. Like always, shake it very, very well. And we can drop it in our eyebrows. Like I told you before, could be nice, maybe a 35 or 40% of thinner and the rest of color. That could be good enough. After pour the color, just mix it very well inside the cup of your eyebrows, something like that, and it's ready to paint again. Okay, so remember that this is the third step, and I don't need to clean too much the eyebrows between color and color because all of those colors are from the same family. So what is next? One more time, trying in a paper, like I always do, trying to be sure that it is working fluid and nice, and I will repeat what I made before, covering the second color. Okay, now is when you can see that the model is getting more covered, but still too dark. So we need to make the highlights, obviously. Remember that I am working with a pressure of 1 kilogram, 0.5, more or less, which is more than enough for our model. And always overlapping with the previous color. So everything is getting integrated in my model. Let's go to the frontal part of the model. I missed to apply here a bit of the previous color, but it's not a problem because I am using 6 colors, so I can use this one to integrate this very strong shadow. Okay. You will note, you will see that in each layer you need less and less quantity, finishing with the highlights, that you must be very subtle when you are adding the highlights in your model. Okay, let's go to the fourth color. One more time. I remove the excess of color. I pour in the plastic glass. It becomes clean. We will use again acrylic thinner. I am trying to read some messages sometime. Well, now we are going to the Dunkelgelb light base. Okay, 903. Remember that in AMO we have all range of modulation color for German gray, olive drab, Russian green, and of course the Dunkelgelb, the dark yellow. This color is much lighter, the same proportion than before, 35% of thinner, and more or less 35 or 40% of thinner. Okay, we mix it inside the cup with our brush, and we are ready for painting one more time. Let's go. One more time, painting outside of the paper. The color is getting lighter and lighter. And now we try to accentuate, we try to enhance the corners and the more exposed parts in our model. And always overlapping with the previous color. I think that you can see the transition, right? You can see the darker colors, the lighter ones. And don't forget it that I am trying to exaggerate a lot just to show you a nice example of this technique. Okay, now let's go to the roof. I can use the paper for masking. In the last stage, or in the highlight, it will be even more necessary the mask to protect some parts in your model and to be more accurate. Okay, and this side. Remember that the other half of the tank that I painted is painted with a completely flat color, and you will see the incredible contrast between the modulation and the part painted with a single color, and you will be shocked. Don't miss it, because I will do in few minutes. Okay, you can see that this is really fast. It's not necessary to spend too much time. Of course, if we need to paint the whole tank, we need to spend more time, no? But I think that in an evening you can paint the completely model, including running gear and the gun barrel and everything. Well, let's go for the next color. That will be the 1 second. The highlight. Yes, the highlight. This is the next color, highlight. Dunkelgelb highlight 904 is the. I am trying to read the message. I am sorry, because I am not reading the message because I am painting. So I haven't time to read at the same time that I am painting. So I apologize. Yes, the parrot is in silent today because he is very noisy and I am a bit upset with him. So I decided to put in the jail, and he is in another room today. And let's go for the next color. Was the highlight, this one, like I made before. I even don't clean the eyebrows. I just mix over the previous one. And now I can use even less quantity because I will need to cover less surface. Shake it very well. ¿Qué proporción de pintura estoy usando en estas capas? Proporción de pintura un 35% de thinner o un 40% y el resto de pintura. Más o menos como estoy haciendo ahora. Están bastante diluidas para acentuar el efecto de transparencia. Ok. Parrot speak English better than me, I think. Okay. Next color. This is one of the lighter ones. And now we must be more accurate and more careful applying the highlight. Let me change the paper. I always like to work over a clean surface. Okay. So let's go for the next step. Now I will try to put this light color only in those areas. And in the frontal part of my tank. Like always, trying to overlap, but not too much. Of course, don't paint through the back of your model or you will cover everything. And one more time, remember that I am trying to exaggerate a lot just to show you how this technique works. Okay, the roof. This technique offers a model with a lot of drama themes, a lot of contrast. So be sure that you want to achieve that effect before you start working with this technique. Okay, let's use the paper mask, the tape. After the end of the modelization, can you show the... yes, I will show you how to clean the airbrush when I finish this process, don't worry. Of course, it's important also to exaggerate a bit, because as soon as you finish this stage, this process, and you start applying the weathering techniques, you will see how everything gets softer. So if you don't want to lose the effect of modulation, you must exaggerate a bit in this point. Don't be too much shy. Don't be excessive, but don't be too much shy. Okay, and let's go for the last color, the last one, the very last one, that is the sign. It's almost white, as you can see. Okay, and the same than before. I hope I don't make any accident today, because I am working very uncomfortable with too much lights, with the tripod with my cell phone in a very small space, because I am not working in my company. I am working in my home. I have a little table in my home, and I wanted to work here more comfortable than go to my office to do this. But also this proof that you can do very nice work in your home. You can record videos. I have here a light made with LEDs. I made 2 arches covered with LEDs, and this is very good and very convenient for painting in your home. I think that sometimes I have shown you how is this setup of lights that you can make very easily and cheap in your home. Okay. But more. I like doing more, but using presading more. Well, the presading is another technique, completely different, that also is valid and very nice. But because some people was asking me about the modulation, is what I am doing. Okay, last color, highlights. Now I am creating a very, very high contrast. But I am covering very small surfaces. I am not trying to paint too much. Even now, I can use the paper. We have many stories in Spain. I cannot read the messages. They are moving too fast, and I will lose the concentration. But my friends can give you answers. My friends Jimmy, Ian Hamilton, and Vladimir, they can give you all kind of answers that you need. Okay, and in the front. Of course, I repeat you that I am doing this very fast, trying to spend the minimum time as possible, because I want to show you many things today. Not only modulation, but also I want to show you how to use the shaders, the brushes, and many other things. But the modulation needs time. Also, after this, I want to explain you how to make the camouflage. Not with modulation, but how to make a fine camouflage. Okay, I finished it. It's good enough, just like an example. And what I will do now is, before before I remove the color from here, I can use this color, exactly the same one from the cup, to paint some details. I don't want to do everything, but I will show you how to paint some details with the same color directly from the cup. I will show you closer now, don't worry. Can you see? I can paint the little details with the eyebrows, with the brush. Also, I can paint some, for example, the periscopes and rivets and many other details. But now I don't want to spend too much time by doing this, because you can imagine that you can continue along your model. For example, the detail, the handles, the hooks, just to give more volume and more contrast. I am using this color, but also you can use intermediate colors. Okay. Well, more or less, it's just to give you an idea, a general idea of what you can do with the lighter color, painting the details. Okay? You can paint as much as you want. Well, more. Let's go to clean the eyebrows. Before I remove the mask, that now we will see the contrast and will be very nice. I will remove the excess of color like I made before. Okay. The next step is, like I told you before, to put a bit cleaner in the cup. Maybe too much. And now I clean the interior with the brush. Okay. To remove the excess of painting. I am projecting the thinner outside the camera because I am projecting throwing the thinner to the air. With the cleaner inside the cup, I am cleaning outside first, the external parts. And now it's time to remove this one from here because I don't want to damage. So to keep clean outside and inside is very important. And now what I do is, I will put a bit more. One of the things that almost all modelers do is to put this paper in front, the needle, and press over it and make bubbles. So this will clean inside the mechanism. But also in the end, what I do is I remove the needle and I project I throw the cleaner over the needle. Sometimes I do even a couple of times this one. With this movement, I am cleaning the needle, which is the most important. Remember that our cleaner have also a kind of oil that made the function of lubricant for the eyebrow. So this is why it's very important to clean it with the cleaner. And finally, after do that, I don't need to do more things. With this is more than enough. I put more cleaner, and what I do is to let it inside. I don't clean it completely. I don't remove the cleaner. I let inside until I use the next time, because it keep lubricated, and in case that something was not completely cleaned, remains of paint, for example, the cleaner will make softer those remains of paint and will help us to have our eyebrows ready for the next use. So with this is more than enough. Of course, I will put the cover. and now we will remove the mask in our model. Okay. Let me clean the papers and all of these. Very important. I will remove the paints because I have really few space here, so I need to keep everything very clean. Okay, I remove the paper, and now I will put a new one, which is more nice. And let's back to the model. So we have this, we painted with modulation very fast, like you saw it. And now let's remove the mask, and I will show you the contrast between a normal dark yellow and the modulation. Well, the mask was not too effective because I made very fast, because it's only for the demonstration. But you can get an idea of the difference between the modulation and a normal dark yellow. Be careful, because as you know, there are different dark yellows, the early one, the mid one, and the late one, used in the end of the 1944 until the end of the war. I painted this side with the very light dark yellow, that it was used only from the end of 1944 to the late war, and this is a classic modulation. Both sides are a base color. Both are base color, so both will be treated in the same way, like a base color, to start the washes or to put the decals or anything that you needed. But most of the modelers paint a model like this, just a single color, and that's all. Other people prefer to make a kind of modulation to create highlights, volume, a three-dimensional look, so you can see the difference between both. What we can do right now over here? Okay, why not to use the shaders? Because many people was asking me how to use them. I make a video that by now is only in Spanish. I need to translate into English. I apologize because I was not able to do it before, but I will do it. I already have the English text. So I will explain you how to use the shaders in English, but maybe right now I can explain you how to even use over this model. For example, imagine that you painted your tank in a single color, like this one, but you have also create volume. You can use the shaders, yes, of course. And now let me take my colors. I will show you some of them. The shaders can be used also to create volume, to create dirt, to create discoloration. You can use many of them for different purposes. But, of course, you must keep in mind that this is something totally different to normal acrylic paints. In fact, those are not acrylic. Don't forget it. Those shaders are not acrylic, are not enamel, are not lacquer paint. It's another kind of paint. For example, this is a very solid color. When you are painting with it, it's a very solid, and you can cover a surface completely, like we make here. But with the shaders, you must work with them like a kind of transparencies, because it, for example, there isn't a white color in shader range. Why? Because it's impossible to make a transparent white. It's so simple. So the colors from the shader range just make your model darker and darker and darker. They never make it lighter. So this is why I painted my model in this side with a lighter color. Because I wanted to use the shaders to make it darker. Yes, Marcus, Jacob, the shaders can be used also like a kind of filter, but one second. like a filter, but it's not exactly the same. And I will explain you the difference between the filters and the shaders. But the shader is a multi-purpose paint that can be used for many things. Don't think that it's only for one thing. Here I have some examples. 1 second. Remember that I was showing you those examples. 1 second. Made with the shaders. So I painted this turret, for example, in dark yellow, almost like this, very similar. This is more dark. But all of this is treated with the shaders. For example, you can appreciate reddish areas here, more yellow here, but also you can see the effects of grime or dirt in vertical areas. In a white surface, it's almost the same. That was completely white, and I used different even blues, gray, and other tones to create contrast and coloring the surface. So you can see a nice contrast between one side and the other. For people who make planes, science fiction and similar, those are fantastic. And now I will explain you more things. Yes, they are, Jordi, they are much more subtle than the filters, more and different to apply than filters. Another example with the camouflage. This was the all turret was painted with this camouflage, but this is treated with the shaders. So you can see that when we use the shaders over a surface, our surface become more dark, much more dark, and also make more rich the surface, giving more tones, more contrast, more effects. And anyway, over this could be interesting to work with the washes and other techniques, oils or anything. But you can achieve a nice effect in a flat surface. For example, if you are working in a big model painted in only one color, the shaders can be a nice solution to work the whole surface in your model. For example, I am imagining right now an armored train from the Second World War, all painted in dark yellow. No? Maybe too boring, but with the shaders you can create all of those effects very fast and simple. So what do you think if I go to paint directly with the shaders? That could be interesting. Yeah, some people that are trying the shaders become very happy with them. And remember that you must work in a completely different way than when you are working with another techniques. For example, I will work with the hair color right now. I want to work with maybe, well, this is the light rush that also we can use later. Of course, I don't want to use blue, but because everything will change a lot, no? But I can use some colors like those. Could be a nice addition for German tanks. Maybe I missed some of them. Okay. So let's start with the hair color and see what happens. Also, you can experiment. And the good thing is that if you don't like what you are doing, you can remove very fast and very simple with a sponge humidifying water. To see the real color of the hair that is closer to the label, because the bottle is black, here you have an example. Okay? But when you pour into the airbrush, that now I will use the eye ripper, because this is more accurate, and I can work better with the shaders. I hope this eye ripper is clean enough, because I don't use it since long time ago. I will check it. Maybe was not clean enough. Well, I will use the air cobra, because this is an airbrush that was in my home since long time ago, and I don't clean it very often. So this is typical in my life. I have too many eyebrushes, and not always they are so clean like I would like. But I will continue working with the Air Cobra that is exactly the same. The Air Reaper is more accurate, and I recommend you for the shaders, but doesn't matter. You can use the Air Cobra as well. So I put a little drops in the eyebrush. I recommend you to put little drops, small drops, because you don't need too much product to cover a completely model. This is why the jar of the shader are smaller, because you can use the color to cover more surface than typical acrylic colors. You don't need to dilute, you don't need to shake it, very important, you don't need to shake it. Yes, Marcus, also you can make streaks effects of deer and rust with the shader. I will do it here. But now I will use this like a just simple, like a filter. If I paint here, you see that it's almost orange, and I will paint. It's very difficult to see in the video, but I will try to exaggerate a bit. It's difficult to see in the video, even it's difficult to me to see in live. But in live is better than in video, because it's extremely subtle. I am applying the hair color in one side. It's very important, don't cover too much, or you will damp the surface, you will overflow the surface easily. I recommend you flat surfaces, always. Matte, completely matte, better than satin, because over the satin you will have problems to apply the shader. Let's take the deer color or grime, just to make another effect. I forget it. I don't need to shake it. I am used to shake it a lot, those bottles, but you don't need to shake it. The shader is not necessary. Remember. Okay. This is the new color. And let's go to make some grain effects that Marcus was asking about that. Note and see how thin is the to paint with the shaders, and it never clog the eyebrows. Can you see the lines? I will take a cardboard. I am touching the paper. Can you see the lines? It's almost like a marker, like a pen. Let me paint here with a marker, so you will see the different. This is a pen. Can you see how thin is the lines that you can make with this? And never clog the needle, never. That is a good advantage, especially for people who want to paint planes or to make some effects. This is very interesting. Well, so what we can do? We can make shadows in the details. Let me show you better. Okay, I hope you can see. Maybe I need to make zoom. Don't allow me 1 second. I apologize if the image move a bit, because it's in a tripod. Okay, now maybe you can see much better, right? So I recommend you to work with low pressure. 1 second. I will reduce the pressure to 1.1 kilogram, because 1.5 is maybe even too much. Okay, I am testing the airbrush. One more time, I recommend you better the Air Viper than the Air Cobra, because it's much more interesting for such kind of effects. I am making small dirt around the details. Very subtle, as you can see. We can remark the well seams. Okay. More details. You must choose the right color for your subject. I am using any color because this is only one example, but you must be very smart when you choose the color. For example, if you are making planes or depending the camouflage. But remember that there are many colors, even blues and gray. And also you can make lines like a kind of grind. And everything very subtle. So in case that you make a mistake, nobody will see. So you can repeat again and again until you achieve the right effect. What happens if I make a mistake? I will show you now. Anyway, I am exaggerating, remember. See, yes, right. You can stop here and just to control the quantity of the size of the line that you are doing with the airbrush. Anyway, I want to show you, in case that something happened, I recommend you, let me find here one sponge. I have here this sponge. I can humidify with my finger the sponge, just a little. Okay, so now let's see what happens if I make a mistake when I am painting my model. For example, let's paint here, in the roof. Okay. Imagine that I am painting the rivets. Okay, and I make a mistake. For example, right here, I paint too much, and this happened. Oh my God! So what happened if this occurred in my model? Remember, take the sponge and just clean it. So easy. Even after a few minutes, you can remove it. Can you see it? If you let dry during 24 hours, will be impossible to remove it. So be careful. No, Ubaldo Sanchez Moya, you don't need to dilute the shaders. You just put in the airbrush, drop in the airbrush, and that's all. Also, we can make shadows. It's a pity that you cannot see everything in the screen because it's very subtle, very subtle. I try to exaggerate, but it's very subtle. But also, at the same time, it's easy to control. Especially for people who make planes, that is something incredible. Also for people who make tanks, of course. But people who make planes probably will appreciate much more. Okay, let's finish this side. Remember that this is only one example, that I am not making nothing seriously here, just showing you how it works. Just to show you that you can create shadows, you can control very, very well. What happens if we use mask to create something like, let me do that. For example, let me find a place. Well, let's protect this. 1 second. Just to show you how it can be used when you use in combination with the mask. Here. Okay. People who make fantasy could find very interesting the shaders also. I am doing something with no sense. It's not necessarily to think that I am doing something well planned or with a specific intention. I put too much, a bit excess, but because I wanted to make a nice contrast, just to show you that you can make different effects. But here I make a mistake, applying too much color in the same side. It's necessary to let dry and apply again. But anyway, imagine how many things you can do with the shaders. Also, for example, here, let's do the same here. And we will protect the modulation part. Okay. We can even make a kind of modulation by using shaders, but will be always more subtle than using the modulation. If we want to cover a lot, it's better to let dry. For example, right now I am projecting just, throwing just air, not paint. Now I am painting. Now again drying with air. I use the air to dry the color. Because if you overflow too much the surface, you can damage. Again drying. The sponge, Ivan, my friend, Ivan Moncha, the sponge was too clean in case that you make a mistake. I can repeat again right now. It's extremely subtle, extremely easy. And here you see the example, how I made that shadow right here. To show you another example in a flat area, for example, imagine that you are making the side of a submarine or a battleship, and you want to make the lines or different effects. I will make this one very subtle, just to show you that with just a little is enough. Can you see? It's really, really, really subtle. Even when you are painting, looks that you are not painting, but it covers a lot, more than you think in the beginning. Well, the sponge, like Ivan was asking me, I repeat again, just humidify the sponge just a little with your finger, with a little water, a drop of water, and you can remove some brom effects in your model after a few seconds. Well, I painted this one before. Here, you can clean it. Oh, sorry. You can see that you can clean it with this. I use it to clean here a mistake, but you can use the sponge to clean a bit the excess of painting in case that you make a mistake. More things. Let's change the color. Let's put right now a rust color. Maybe we can make some rust streaks. Some people use it on gloss surface. Well, I recommend you matte surface because it will fix it better than over satin or glossy surfaces. But up to you. You can experiment and you can make many effects. Now I am using the rust color, so maybe I can make rust streaks. Imagine that your model is abandoned. And remember that you can combine all of this with the classic techniques, with the oils and others. It's not necessary to do everything with the shaders. Okay, this is the rust color. And so we can apply maybe over the fan covers. The good thing is that allow you a lot of precision. Can you see the fan cover? Around the fan cover is so simple. Other side. And remember that this is transparent. You can clean it with just water. It's not necessary any cleaner or any specific cleaner for that or thinner. Just water is more than enough. You don't need to shake it before you use it. You just put in your eyebrows and it works very nice. And let dry 24 hours if you want to continue working over it. 24 hours is more than enough and will be completely dry. Of course, just in case you want to work with too much product over it, I recommend you to apply a coat of satin or matte varnish. In fact, now I want to show you how to apply the varnish in my model. Imagine that you want to make many coats of shader in your model. No? For example, if I like right now, that is so ugly because it's just an example, no? But imagine that you are happy with this effect and you want to save it. It's like when you are working with the Photoshop and you want to save the process of something that you are doing. Well, the way to save it and protect it is applying a matte or satin coat in your model to protect it and continue working. If you want to continue working with more shaders, I recommend you a matte coat of varnish, a matte varnish coat, because the shader will fit much better over the matte varnish. If you want just to start working with washes or other effects or oils, you can use the satin varnish. But I will apply just the matte varnish because I can continue working with more colors. So let me clean the airbrush because now it's full of shader. And like I made before, just with a little drop of cleaner, I can remove the excess of the previous color. This is how I work when I am painting my models. I don't clean too much the airbrush. This is why sometimes my airbrush stay a bit, how to say, a bit dirty inside and doesn't work too nicely, no? Because I am a bit lazy modeler. I don't like to clean my airbrush too much. But anyway, now it's clean, and I will apply a matte coat of a matte varnish coat in my model to protect the previous layer of shaders. Remember that all of those effects is just like experimenting, just making different effects to show you what you can do with that. But imagine that you want to protect it because you want to continue working with the shaders. Then apply the varnish directly in your airbrush. You don't need to thin down, you don't need to do something special. Just put in the airbrush and it is ready to be applied in your model. Very important, apply soft layers of varnish. Don't try to cover too much, exactly the same that with acrylics. 1 second. In the beginning must be very soft, very soft. Especially the first coat, and immediately after painting with the shaders, because the shader is still fresh, so if you apply too much varnish, you can damage the shaders. Now I am painting, but very soft, with little quantity of matte varnish. Can you mix shader with lucky varnish? I don't recommend you. I never tried. But what you will obtain is a shader that dries faster and much more solid. But probably you can do it. Good question. Anyway, remember that this is a very new product. Even for me it's new, and I am experimenting and I am trying. So you can do also the same. You can experiment with your product and mix with other paints or varnishes. Look that, because I apply too much varnish, I am removing the shader. Can you see that I can damage if I apply too much varnish? So you must be careful. The first coat must be very subtle and very soft. If it is dry after 24 hours, it's not a problem. But if you just painted a few minutes ago, try to be moderate when you are applying the matte varnish or the satin varnish. Okay. Well, this is just a very thin coat of varnish, and now it is ready to apply the next coat. Clean the yes, of course. No, I am reading some messages from time to time. Remember that I cannot read it because I am painting, so it's difficult to me. Well, that was the modulation. Here we are working with the shaders. One more coat. But all of those coats that I am applying are very soft. Very soft. You don't need to apply a very thick coat of varnish to protect the inferior layers of painting. With a very soft layer is more than enough. This is a common mistake that many people do it with the varnish, and this is why some people have problems, because they put too much coat of varnish and it's not necessary. maybe with another kind of varnishes, like automotion varnishes and lacquer varnishes, maybe you need to apply thicker coats, but with acrylic ones it's not necessary too much. Okay, so what happens if we put a different color? For example, let's see what happened with a blue. Sky blue, night blue, and night blue. Let's see what happened. Just to show you how everything affects in a very subtle way. Remember, you don't need to shake it. Can we dry the shadow with a dryer? Yes. Yes. You mean the shaders? Yes. You can accelerate the process with the dryer, with the hot dryer. With the varnish, 1 kilogram or 1.5 for the varnishes. Well, this is a blue color that could be more appropriate for planes, but just to show you how it affects to our model. And we can work immediately after the varnish was dry. And this is blue, but I am creating a similar effect here than I made with the modulation. Do you remember what we made with the modulation colors? So I am doing something similar but much more subtle with the shaders. This could be another application. But remember, don't overflow. Don't overflow. Because if you apply too much quantity, will appear like small drops in the surface, and you will need to remove it with a sponge. So this is why I make a kind of backup of the previous layer of shaders, just to protect them in case that now make a mistake. One more time, I repeat you that this is very subtle. Yes. Francisca Piliar, can I use after varnishing Mig wash or filters? Yes, of course. And this is the purpose of the varnish. And those varnishes are very strong to resist the enamel weathering product. Don't use acrylic over the lacquer varnish. Use only enamel. That is very important. Marcus, thank you very much, Marcus Jacob, to stay here and for your questions. Thank you, my friend. I hope you are fine. Well, I am exaggerating one more time just to show you what effect I am doing. I am creating like a kind of shadows, cold shadows. But you can make 1 million effects. Remember what I showed you before? The example that where is my turret? 1 second. Here. Remember what I made in that turret over the flat color, a single color. Look, all of those effects made with the shaders, but protecting with matte varnish between layer and layer. All of this is made with the shaders. Or this example, creating shadows and volume. And remember that you cannot make it lighter. You can make darker, but never lighter. So this is why you must start always with a very light color. That is very important point. Well, one more thing. Finally I used a lot of time, 1.5 hours only for modulation and shaders. So, okay, any last question? I will, very important, I will save that space for the next day, and I will continue explaining many things that I wanted to explain you today, but because the lack of time was impossible. Remember that I wanted to show you how to make grease effects in the engine deck, in your tanks. I want to show you how to make camouflage with the airbrush. and also how to make, how to work with the oil brushes. I prepared here many things to use today, but I have not enough time to do everything that I want, so I will need to continue another day. Anyway, important things that we saw today. Can I use are the best used with airbrush? Yes, bread novel. You can use with the airbrush, and this is the main purpose of the shaders, but many people are using the shaders like washes or filters used with brush, and they are achieving incredible effects with brush. I repeat you, this is a very new product, a very new technique, and there are endless possibilities and endless of techniques that you can discover by yourself. Time to explain all brusher today? Maybe not, but I want to explain you the filters to show you. 1 second. Here I prepared some turrets, and let me explain you very quick, very fast about the filters. Now, because the shaders must be applied with 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram of pressure could be more than enough for the shaders, because they are very thin, and will be more than enough to achieve a very fine effect. So let me explain about the filters. 1 second. I need another filter to... Here, I have 2 colors. Well, 2 filters, enamel product. This is enamel. So you can apply over lacquer varnish? Yes, of course. Acrylic weathering products cannot be applied over lacquer varnish because they will attack the lacquer varnish. So those varnish are designed to be treated with enamel products. Don't forget it, okay? So filters, shake it very well before use it, of course. Remember that it's important to use enamel odorless thinner. Let me find it. Where is? Here. You can clean it with this, or you can thin down with this. But usually the filters are ready to be used directly from the bottle. You don't need to thin down the filters. And one more time, let me change the paper and put a new one. Honestly, I wanted to explain today many things, but not enough time. Michigan see fast or order it from me. So, yes, you can order directly also from the AMO website, and we have a very fast service around the world. But you can buy the shaders in any of our suppliers. What we need to apply the filters? We need a brush. For example, one of these is more than enough. A round brush, a big one. This is the number 10. And we will see how the filters affect a flat base or a single color base, which is very important when you are working your models. Remember that this is enamel, it's not acrylic, and it's ready to be used and without thin down with more thinner. Well, very important, don't overflow the surface. Don't overflow the surface, because this is not a wash. This must just damp the surface just a little. So this is a good example of the right application of a filter. Okay? This is the right application. Let me make zoom. Can you see how the color changed completely after the first filter? and must be very uniform through the surface. This will change the tonality, this will change the color, but in a very subtle way. But why is important to apply the filter with the brush? Because if you apply with the airbrush, the final look will be too uniform and will be a bit strained. But when you apply with the brush, those effects that appear in the surface with different intensities, that will make your surface much more interesting and realistic than just applying with the airbrush. Let's use another different color to see the difference. Shake it very well, of course. And we will see the contrast with a different color, what happened in our surface. Could be interesting apply the filters in different parts of your or component in your model. For example, if I want this part of the roof a bit different, I can put the filter only in that plate. And many times I work my models using filters. Many different filters for different modules or components or hatches in our tanks. It's very, very, very subtle. Don't let it accumulate, remember, because this will become a kind of wash. So here we have one color and here another color. Even if we apply that over a green color, here is more difficult to see the effect until it is dry. I just painting half just to show you the difference, but we need to wait until it is dry. This is why I prefer to use a lighter color, so here you can see faster how the base color change immediately, no, after being applied. Of course, this dark brown is for green. Read that. Brown for dark green is not for sun color. So this is why it's too dark and too hard in contrast with the light sun. So it's important to read the information in the label. So this is a brown for dark green. So this is dark green, we can use over this one. But the other is a ochre for light sun. So this is a correct filter for the light sun turret. This is the way. Well, guys, now it's 7:30, and it's time to finish. Let me read some questions in case that I missed something because I was not able to read your message. It's very important, the varnish. Some people have problems with them. I haven't any kind of problem with them, with the varnish. And I use the same one that you buy. So where is the difference? First, some people, after apply the varnish, they use water-based weathering product, which is a mistake because it will attack the varnish. So it's very important to use enamel, always enamel. It's very important to let dry very well after before you start applying the weathering. Also, very important to apply very thin layers of varnish. You cannot make a thick coat of varnish or this will peel off easily. So the layers must be very thin, and this is more than enough to change the texture in your model, or satin or matte, okay? And one more time, the ultra matte varnish is to mix with the paints, it's not to be applied alone. So if you want something completely matte, this is the right varnish. Don't use the ultra matte, because the ultra matte is to be mixed with the paints. More questions around here. Let me check something. More in English. Well, yes, I will try to do more in English. I would like to continue the next day working with that. And also will be completely dry, so we can start working with the oils, we can start working with the washes and other effects, and you will see how everything is changing. Don't forget it that that this was just an example about how to use the shaders, how to create different effects. Now try to imagine in your own model, of course, but remember that you can make shadows, you can make rust, you can make lines and dirt. When it is dry, when the shaders are dry and have a lot of quantity, they become a bit shiny. So if you don't want a shiny look, you must apply a matte varnish coat over it. Okay? More things. Let me write something. To be mixed with paints for to obtain what? Navarra English is better than Birmingham English, probably. Yeah, because I cannot understand some English people or people from Scotland. It's very hard to me. I prefer people from USA. It's more easier, more understandable for Spaniards, I think. Well, anyway, guys, I will continue next day explaining. For example, how to make the grease. This is the effect that I wanted to show you before, but no time. Maybe I can try. No, but I need to let dry. Maybe it's not too much time. I prepare this T14 Armata to make the grease effects. Let me show you what I wanted to do. Those effects in the fuel cells that is coming from the oil, or those over the engine, okay, or those in the frontal part. But I need a lot of time to explain that, or those effects. Those are too many examples, but I need time to do it. Maybe I need more time than just few minutes. But it's a pity, because I really like that part. Anyway, just to give you one general idea. 1 second. 1 second, please. And the next day I will explain with much more detail. Well, for the next day, and even I will let in my table, and I don't want to touch it, just to repeat it. Maybe it's not necessary to wait until the next Sunday. I can do it the next Wednesday, or I can see. We will announce in our website. But what we need to make the grease effects? The fresh engine oil, that is a very important product. Is the most important one, and is one of my favorite ones. And we need a dark hair or dark tone pigment. I usually use the dark hair, but those ones can be good alternatives, especially for darker base color. For example, for dark green, could be interesting this one. So, if you want to experiment with the grease and oil effects over pigments for the next day, maybe you can take those colors, and you can wait until I do the next time in the next video. Here I have the other example that I made. Okay, and I will explain the next day. All of this is made with the dark hair, and later with the fresh engine oil. It's something that many people like it, and I am used to do that in almost all my models. I like a lot It's one of my favorite parts when I am painting, and it's good because you can create many contrasts between the different components in your models, and it's something that gives a lot of life. And finally, I will show you another example in my little T54 in 1/72, which is really small. And also I made those effects here. Observe the size of my finger, so this is really small. The compressor, Craig Stidham. For the compressor, I recommend you one with a refrigerator engine. Those are more powerful and more silent. The oil brusher. Next day, I will explain you how to do that. I will explain you how to use the oil brushers and much more things, okay? But today I think that we have more time because it's almost 7:45 and we need to finish right now. But anyway, today was an experiment to see if the quality of those videos are good enough or not. I hope that you like it. I hope that you can see with quality enough in your home. But I am trying my best. It's not the quality of a super video on YouTube, but maybe we can experiment and we can repeat the next day and we can do more like this video if you want. Anyway, my friends, give me your comments, your suggestions for the next day. And I will try to keep on mind to make a better demonstration. I will try to improve it. And I am sorry for my English one more time. And that's all, guys. So thank you, my friends. And I will try to read your message right now that I can do it. Because when I am painting, it's impossible to me to read the screen. Well, my friends, thank you and bye-bye and see you next day. Please don't forget to stay tuned to AMO website in Facebook because we will announce the next in live video talking about techniques. Probably will be in English again and I will explain you very interesting things. So thank you and bye-bye, my friends. Bye-bye to all of you. Adiós, amigos. Muchísimas gracias. Que os vaya muy bien. Gracias. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.